Welcome back to A News. I'm Bakhtiar Sanov. We interrupt our regular programming with breaking news. Azerbaijan has strongly condemned what it describes as a terrorist act after drones launched from Iranian territory struck the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic, damaging civilian infrastructure and injuring civilians. Speaking at an emergency meeting of the Security Council, President Ilham Aliyev accused Tehran of deliberately targeting civilian facilities, including Nakhchivan International Airport and a school, and warned that Azerbaijan will not tolerate what he called an act of aggression against its territory. The president ordered the armed forces to prepare retaliatory measures, while diplomatic steps are also underway. Let's watch the president's speech.
Bugün İran tərəfindən Azərbaycan ərazisinə qarşı, Azərbaycan dövlətinə qarşı.
Today, Iran committed an act of terror against the territory of Azerbaijan, against the state of Azerbaijan. The Iranian state fired unmanned aerial vehicles into the territory of the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic. The targets of the attack were civilian facilities. The Nakhchivan International Airport, its terminal, a school, and other places were subjected to cowardly fire from Iran. The state of Azerbaijan vehemently condemns this ugly act of terror, and those who committed it must be immediately held accountable. Iranian officials must provide an explanation to the Azerbaijani side. An apology must be offered, and those who committed this terrorist act must be held criminally liable. This is not the first time that the Iranian state has committed an act of terror against Azerbaijan and Azerbaijanis. We all remember too well that the embassy of Azerbaijan in Tehran was subjected to a terrorist act some time ago. A person instructed by the Iranian special services attacked the embassy and committed a bloody act of terror against Azerbaijani citizens. As a result, one citizen was killed and another was seriously injured. I should also note that an unarmed representative of the Azerbaijani special services neutralized the terrorist, who was armed with a Kalashnikov assault rifle, a Molotov cocktail, and an axe. We had no doubt then either that the perpetrator was the Iranian state, because that act of terror lasted about 40 minutes, both inside and around the embassy. During those 40 minutes, not a single security or police representative approached the embassy. It was clear that this act of terror was masterminded at the highest levels of the Iranian state in order to intimidate Azerbaijan and carry out dirty deeds against Azerbaijan. As you know, Azerbaijan reacted very harshly to the incident at that time. The embassy of Azerbaijan was evacuated from Iran and all diplomatic relations were suspended. The Iranian side had to apologize to us and admit its fault. At our insistence, the perpetrator of that terrorist act was handed the most severe punishment. In fact, the Iranian state, which was reluctant to carry out this punishment for a long time and even tried to save the criminal, was forced to execute the terrorist in the presence of Azerbaijan's representatives. This time, the response will be the same. We will not put up with this groundless act of terror and aggression committed against Azerbaijan. Our armed forces have been instructed to prepare and implement retaliatory measures.
Cavab tədbirləri hazırlansın və həyata keçirilsin. Dəfələrlə İran tərəfinə xüsusilə keçən il baş vermiş.
The Iranian side has been repeatedly informed, especially after the clashes that took place last year, that the territory of Azerbaijan will not be used against any neighboring state. We will not allow this, just as we have never allowed it to happen to date. True, in the summer of last year, and in the period after that, Iran made some unfounded accusations against us. The state-controlled media of Iran were conducting a dirty campaign of slander against Azerbaijan in order to tarnish Azerbaijan and change the sentiments of our compatriots living in Iran. Because they know perfectly well that the independent state of Azerbaijan today is also a place of hope for many Azerbaijanis living in Iran. In other words, their goal was to tarnish us, slander us, and discredit us in the eyes of the public, because there was no basis for that. Azerbaijan does not and will not participate in operations against Iran either then or now, because this is our position. We have no interest in conducting any operations against neighboring countries, nor does our policy allow it. We are protecting and have protected our territorial integrity. Just as we have put an end to the Armenian occupation, we are ready to show our strength against any evil force, and Iran should not forget this. This act of terror they committed, along with all other ugly factors, is an example of great ingratitude. As soon as the latest events occurred, we sent them a message and expressed our condolences. The Minister of Foreign Affairs spoke with his counterpart on my instructions. I went to their embassy to express my position and to offer condolences. In fact, no other head of state has visited any Iranian embassy. In other words, not appreciating this, downplaying it, and acting like vile and ungrateful people does not bring honor to anyone. These dishonorable people, those who committed this act of terror against us, will regret it. They should not test our strength. Those who once wanted to test our strength were crushed by the iron fist. Today's incident will also produce the same result. Therefore, an action plan should be prepared regarding this issue. All instructions have been given. The Iranian ambassador to Azerbaijan was summoned to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A note of protest will be handed to him, and other diplomatic steps will be taken. Relevant instructions have been given regarding the border.
Sərhədlə bağlı müvafiq göstərişlər verildi. Onu da bildirməliyəm ki, bugün səhər mənə məlumat verilir ki, İranın Xarici İşlər Naziri...
I should also note that I was informed this morning that the Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran called Baku and asked Azerbaijan for help in evacuating the employees of the Iranian embassy who were stranded in Lebanon because they were unable to do that. I was informed about that. I immediately gave the order to provide assistance and to send a plane. They even said that they were ready to pay for that. I said that it is not necessary. If we do not provide assistance now in such a difficult time, then when should we provide assistance? In return for all this, to strike Nakhchivan in an ugly, cowardly and shameless manner. This stain will never be erased from their ugly and unsightly face. Therefore, all necessary measures will be taken through diplomatic channels. Our armed forces, the Ministry of Defense, the State Border Service and all other special forces have been brought to level 1 mobilization and must be ready to conduct any operation. This is all for now. We will inform the Azerbaijani people about the progress of developments. The statement of the Ministry of Defense has already been published in the media. The people of Azerbaijan must be confident that any evil force will have to face our iron fist.
Bizim dəmir yumruğumuzu onlar görəcəklər.
We'll continue to follow this developing story. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to A News for more.